Welcome to the Drop Bass Not Bombs podcast. I'm your host, Amy Farina, aka MC Unicorn, and welcome to season 2. So if you're new here, this is the podcast where I interview interesting people in the electronic music scene who are raving for a cause, partying for a purpose, and making the world a better place. I sit down with artists, industry professionals, content creators, and more. Just keep in mind on this podcast, we have a variety of different opinions and views that do not necessarily reflect those of my own or those of Drop Bass Not Bombs. We also talk a lot about really mature topics, so listener discretion and viewer discretion is advised. Before we jump into today's episode, a quick message from friends of the podcast and our sponsors. If you're looking for the perfect outfit for a big night out or for your next rave, look no further. When I'm looking for that festival fit, I go to RolitaCouture.com. So this shirt is from there. All their clothes are handmade in Las Vegas. They're comfortable, they're practical. Even the pants have pockets. They're my favorite rave festival fashion brand. You can use code MCUnicorn to save 15% off today at RolitaCouture.com. Click the link down below and save some money and look amazing this weekend because sexy has no size. Welcome back to the Drop Bass Not Bombs podcast. Today we have with us Darcy Michero. Darcy is the Director of Events and Fundraising Programs at End Overdose, a Los Angeles-based 501c3 nonprofit organization working to end drug-related overdose deaths through education, medical intervention, and public awareness. Before we jump into the conversation, I just want to preface this that we're not doctors, we're not scientists, we're not medical professionals. The following episode should not be taken as medical advice. So with all of that being said, how are you today, Darcy?
Doing really well. Thanks for asking and thanks for having me. I'm super excited. It's bright and early here in Los Angeles.
Awesome. Yeah, it's nighttime here for me in the Netherlands. I have this a lot on the podcast, talking to people in LA, and it's like nighttime for someone, daytime for someone else.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, it's great that we can connect even so far away. So before we jump into talking about End Overdose, I want to get to know you a bit better and want my listeners to get to know you. Can you start us off with first, what's your earliest electronic music memory? How did you get into the rave scene?
Yeah, so I am from LA, born and raised, and I went to UCLA. At UCLA, it was the electronic dance music scene was pretty popular in the club that I happened to be in, which was ski and snowboarding club. Surprising, it's like, is there really ski and snowboarding in Los Angeles? But there actually is. And we went out a lot in kind of the LA local rave scene, I guess. There was a lot of underground parties, but really the formative and transcendent memory I have was this Chris Lake and Fisher back-to-back in 2019 at the Shrine. That was just that first moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, the production is amazing. The community is amazing. I just felt this kind of like spark and energy, and I'd never experienced anything like it. And I was kind of hooked ever since. I've been going to music festivals as much as I can since then.
So then once you got hooked in, you never looked back.
No, absolutely not. It was like, when's the next one? Like, it was quickly after that Coachella, Nocturnal, Wonderland, Hard Summer, everything I could get a ticket to.
And you guys are lucky in LA. Well, I live in the Netherlands, so we're really lucky here too. We're super lucky, but in LA, You guys get a lot of events. So I'm sure it's pretty easy to find something every weekend.
Oh yeah, all the time. When I was like in the local scene in LA, there's this party that I was introduced to, and now I have a lot of friends in, and I end up working in quite often. It's called Space Yacht. It's kind of this like event company in our group where they find local DJs and obviously big DJs too, and it's really cool to just get to know people at the start of their production journey and when they're big. So it's been really cool, like knowing the LA scene and the local house and techno scene for a while.
Nice. So you mentioned Chris Lake and you mentioned Fisher. Would you say you're a house head, or how would you describe your electronic music taste?
Yeah, I honestly think that the first like electronic music scene that you get into, or like the first one that really inspires you, I feel like you have that like taste deep in your core. So I definitely identify as a house music person, but I love everything. I can get down to bass or rhythm. I love techno. I love drum and bass. But yeah, definitely house is my favorite.
Nice. And house is such a broad genre too. You can have a little bit of every kind of music within house music. I think you have some of the harder house, and you have like, yeah, tribal house, like tech house, progressive house. I mean, house music it's a little bit in everything. I think there's something for everybody within it.
Totally. I love that part. Yeah, for me, I never get bored of it. It's so diverse.
Nice. Yeah, me too. I like a little bit of everything. Like you said, where you get started always has a special place in your heart. So for me, I've been raving for about 13 years, but as a kid, I was really into this video game called Dance Dance Revolution. And it was like from the music in that game that got me into electronic music. And funny enough, that music is pretty fast. And now what I listen to the most is hard dance and hard style. So funny how I kind of
Oh,
started with the fast music, but then I got into, of course, mainstream big room house. Because like I said, I started raving in like 2009. So it was, Tiesto and Avicii and Hardwell and
right.
Armin. And then I got into dubstep, and then it's been hard dance ever since.
Yeah, I love that. That is an amazing progression. Yeah, again, I am like quite new, I guess, relatively because I was quite young during the really formative years of like big room and progressive house, but I have so much respect for it, and I still love every part of the house and all electronic dance music.
Nice. And you're in it now. So that's what counts. And it's an amazing time. It's an amazing time to be in the scene now. And especially now with the pandemic, hopefully over, that, so many events every weekend, at least here in the Netherlands, it's like every weekend, there's just a ridiculous amount of stuff going on. I have to choose between so many different things, which is a privilege. And it's good to have that.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way in LA.
Yeah, I would assume so. I need to go out and rave in LA. I've been to LA a few times, but like for work or for like family trips, like I've never gone, especially, for hardstyle. You guys have a lot. Like I need to make it out there.
Yes, I actually the hardstyle obvious it's not big here. There's not a lot of people that like it, but the people that do like it are so hardcore. Um, I think there was a recent one at we have a this venue here called Exchange, and I think Lady Faith headlines there a lot. She's someone in hardstyle, and I love like the female producers. So yeah, awesome, awesome how diverse the scene is here, and I'm sure in the Netherlands too.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same way. For example, like on Saturday, I went to this event called Don't Let Daddy Know, and it was with like W&W and Alesso and Morton and kind of like big room house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but then next weekend I'm going to Project Uptempo, which is like super super hard hard music, and then I'm going to Ultra in Miami, is like something else. So, are you going to Ultra too?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's either the same weekend or right before Beyond Wonderland, which is we have like a lot of those Insomniac festivals here in San Bernardino. End Overdose will be there. So I'll be going to that. But I have so many people going to Ultra, and I've always wanted to go to I think it's called like that Carl Cox stage. I would love to
I think
go.
that's the mega structure, right?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
should know.
I
I'm
need to go.
going
I need
there
to go and
soon.
find out for myself.
Yeah, I should know this. I'm going there very soon. Well, I'll let you know when I'm there. Um, awesome. So, how did you go from being a raver, being an electronic music fan, to the work that you do now?
Yeah, it was a really easy transition, honestly. Like it was so natural. So again, I went to UCLA, and that was kind of when I got into raving. I was I think a freshman in college. I started, going out and having a bit more of a nightlife. So it was something it was really integral to just my social scene. I started going out with people who had similar interests in house music and all that. But at UCLA, I really wanted to be a doctor. And over time, I was doing more research. I was in a couple of different psychology labs. I studied psychobiology at UCLA. And, I was like, I want to kind of be a psychiatrist. I had this interest in pharmacology, which was super, super random. I was never that good at STEM, but I just really excelled in organic chemistry and eventually ended up teaching it to my peers. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something about pharmacology, there's something about drugs that I find so fascinating how they work on the brain and our receptors and everything. So eventually I got connected to this like medical school mentor person named Chris, and he actually was doing day to day at this amazing nonprofit local to Pasadena, which is actually where I grew up. So that's like East LA. um, nonprofit called End Overdose. And as you know, someone who was going out a lot in LA, of course, I'd kind of heard about this is when fentanyl was kind of getting in more into the scene. You would kind of hear these things. Fentanyl obviously like is a synthetic opioid that is it's very, very strong, much stronger than morphine or heroin. And I think the lethal dose is about 2 milligrams. So was starting to be this really scary, dangerous thing. So I was like, how can I kind of do something that I love, raving, and also make an impact, on something that's kind of harmful to the dance music community. And I started just volunteering a couple hours a week in Pasadena at their offices, just packing kits, like naloxone kits or so that's how I started getting into End Overdose. And then pretty recently, the founder, Theo, just called me up and was like, hey, I know that you love this scene and you know a lot of people in the scene, you love these events. Why don't you kind of combine your interest with, our nonprofit work? And that the rest is history.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool how you start out volunteering there and now you work for them and now you organize events. And can you tell us a little bit about overall the mission of End Overdose and like what your specific role is within the organization?
Of course, yeah. So we are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, again, based in Los Angeles. And we really are working to end drug-related overdose deaths through education, medical intervention, and public awareness. And some figures that are really scary, but really show how important our work is that, like, according to the CDC, fentanyl-related overdoses are the #1 cause of death for people ages 18 to 45. And that is a staggering number. These are people that, like, there's no reason that these people have to die. And that is our main slogan. No one else has to die because of the work that we're doing. Due to like experimental drug use and addiction, it puts young people especially at risk for overdoses. So at End Overdose, we really want to, instill these ideas of opioid overdoses are reversible if you have the right knowledge on how to identify it, recognize it, and call 911, eventually administer naloxone, which is an opioid reversal medication that can be used to stop an overdose and get them to medical help as soon as possible. But what I do, I like curate the events and coordinate the volunteers. So as I said, I've loved the scene for a while. I definitely excel in, like I know the community very well. I know ravers, and I try to kind of make the community safer, not by forcing End Overdose on anyone, but we want to be a part of the community. We want people to recognize us as this organization that is here to make everyone feel safer and give people the knowledge and resources if they so choose, to want it.
I think that's amazing. And that's the main reason why I invited you guys to come on the podcast is there's a real need for this in the community. Like I said, I've been raving for about 13 years. So I've seen a lot. And I'm now in the second season of my podcast, and we haven't really talked about substance use or substance abuse or harm reduction at all. Then that's why I wanted to have End Overdose come on first, open up the conversation, because it's a tricky one. It's a difficult topic, and it's one that you need to tread lightly. And then the other reason why I wanted to bring you guys on is I think, like all of us, we know someone who has struggled with addiction or who has suffered and died from an overdose. And me, as a member of my family, unfortunately died of a fentanyl overdose a couple of years ago. And so it's something that I'm really passionate about. And yeah, that's why you guys are here today, and you're going to tell us everything. And hopefully, yeah, from this conversation, we can really get the ball rolling to start to make a difference in the scene. So what are the first steps that you take in organizing events for End Overdose?
Yeah, well, first I want to say I'm so sorry to hear about, your loss. And you're right. It's so prevalent. Everyone has a loss that they can relate to. So just even by talking about it, and thank you for inviting me onto this podcast to talk about something so important. But yeah, throwing an event, it can happen in so many different ways. As an organization, we are just so lucky and thankful for people that are, allowing us to take up space in this scene. And it is a scary conversation. Substance use has always been kind of a taboo topic, and now we're here to make it safer. As an organization, we can do so many events, fundraisers, collaborative events, even sending kind of supplies to an event for them to give out. So that's kind of everything events is up to me. The kind of events that I love doing are we just recently had an amazing collaborative event with this local LA kind of underground collective called Blind Tiger. And we kind of worked on having End Overdose help sponsor kind of an awareness event at this warehouse show in downtown LA. And we had this amazing interactive art, piece to it. We had, you know, we had naloxone trainings at the actual event, which I'll get a lot more into when we kind of talk about our trainings. But it just starts from like a nugget of an idea or an email of someone just saying, hey, I love what you do. I have been personally affected, or I know someone affected by overdose. Can we come together to create something that inspires people and engages people in the community to care more about this issue and spread more knowledge? And yeah, that's where I come in. So honestly, this is kind of like a shout out to like anyone, even like a small event to a big event to an Instagram fundraiser. All of it has such a big impact. And I just love like creating these cool, inspiring places for people to gather and really talk about, harm reduction and how to safely use, or, how to prepare yourself with naloxone, or knowing how to reverse an overdose if it happens.
That's awesome. And I saw you guys actually at EDC Orlando, and I meant to go over and like introduce myself, but yeah, I ended up connecting with you guys online, which is also fine. It was kind of a very busy weekend for me, but it really
Yeah.
made me happy to see you guys there. It's really important, the work that you do. And yeah, like we said, hopefully this will just start more and more conversations, because it is so stigmatized and people just want to turn the other way about these kind of things, or just make it, I don't, just not want to talk about it. It's like we have to talk about it. Drug use exists at events, at all kinds of events, but at electronic music events. So we need to educate people, and yeah, you guys need to be there and be prepared. And yeah, that's something that's really important to me for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. The first step is really being open about it. And realizing that there are people dying right now that we don't, this is avoidable.
Definitely. So about the trainings that you guys do, can you talk a little bit about that? Who do you train? How do you go about conducting a training? What can we expect if we go to one?
Yeah, of course. So training is our number one thing. Like, again, we are an organization that really the pinnacle is education, information. It's so important. We do all types of different trainings. The one that is the most accessible and amazing is our free online training. It's right on our website. It's probably takes under 25 minutes, and after you're done, you learn how to essentially, you've equipped yourself with the knowledge of how to reverse an suspected opioid overdose. You can also, once you're done with that training, order naloxone to be delivered to you, which I think is a really cool feature. But we also do in-person trainings. We do this at schools. We do it for like bar staff, groups, music production, employees, like anyone that really wants to. And we'll go through this really extensive, amazing presentation that our team has created to really in-depth talk about what is the problem, what is an opioid, like how does naloxone even work, what is naloxone, right? And then we also have these trainings that are really good for the event space. These are a bit more shortened, what with all of the essential information in. So we do these types of trainings like you saw us at EDC Orlando, and these trainings take about 5 minutes. And we essentially start with the most important step is how to even recognize an opioid overdose. You can't treat one or stop one if you don't know how to identify it. And we teach this really simply with the opioid triad, we call it. And so that would be the main three features of how to identify it is pinpoint pupils, slow, shallow breathing or respiratory depression, and reduced level of consciousness. And a lot of people, it's easy to at a music festival, you don't know if this person might be drunk. Are they sleeping? Are they having an overdose? That's, you have to figure that out. And we really like to point out pinpoint pupils as the one that's so, you know, good to identify in a place that's loud and dark. And you can essentially just take your flashlight. Everyone has a flashlight on their phone. Move it away and move it towards their eye. And if their pupil is staying as a tiny pinpoint, that's a very, very good sign that you might have an opioid overdose happening. We kind of teach it in 5 steps, which I'll quickly just go through. The second one would be, calling 911 and yelling for help. We definitely want to make sure that people know that naloxone is life-saving, but you still need to get that person to a hospital. They need professional medical attention because naloxone will wear off, and the person will re-overdose. So these are things that you will learn in the training that you might not know otherwise. I'm sure, a lot of people kind of have heard of Narcan or naloxone. Narcan is a brand name for naloxone. It's the exact same chemical. We call it naloxone because, at End Overdose, we give out Narcan and Cloxada, which is another name. We also do intermuscular naloxone based on where we're sending it. And then we also teach like how to check for responsiveness with like a trapezius pinch or a sternum rub. We want people to check for breathing and pulse. We teach about the Good Samaritan law, which is how to be protected. There's a law in every state that protects you from being charged with, like, say, small drug possession if you're saving someone else. And then lastly, how to administer naloxone. Often at music festivals like EDC, we teach how to administer intranasal. It's just a one and done, put it right in the nose. You want to administer another dose if they have not regained consciousness in about 2 to 3 minutes. Put them in a recovery position and start your rescue breath. So that's essentially like what we go through. I feel like I've been doing a training, but those are all like the really important steps. And within 5 minutes, now you've equipped someone with the life-saving knowledge of how to reverse an OD.
Wow, that was a great, quick nutshell overview. So thank you for that. Yeah, this is really important information, everybody. And I think at an event, it's hard because let's say you're in a crowd, you're in a huge crowd, and you suspect someone's having an overdose, and you need to do all these things. Do you have any tips for acting under pressure, or do you think adrenaline takes over? I thankfully have not ever been in this situation, thankfully, but like I said, I've been going to events for a very long time, almost every weekend. So I've just been lucky. But do you have any tips, like how do you stay calm? You gave all the practical steps, but what can people do mentally to like carry this out without putting themselves in danger?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I honestly didn't realize, like, you won't know how you're going to react until it happens to you. And that happened to me. I just have a quick story. I have been doing this for a while. Like, I've been doing these trainings. I know it like the back of my hand. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm totally going to be able to handle it. I pull up to this venue actually on my boyfriend's birthday. And as soon as we get to the front, we see someone that we, suspected has an OD. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the person that should know about this. Luckily I have naloxone, but it took a moment to really like take a deep breath, calm down, and remember what's going on, because you with the brain without oxygen, you have 5 minutes before like some serious damage happens. So I would recommend really just taking a deep breath, centering yourself, because if you rush into something, you might not remember all of the steps or do it right. But again, just being there and even carrying naloxone is worlds better than not doing anything at all. Doing something, calling for help, calling 911. If you're not in the mental state to do anything, or give that naloxone, be that person that asks someone to call 911. We often tell people, there's like the bystander effect. If you're like, say there's someone on the ground, someone call 911, someone call 911. We teach people, designate, hey, you, please, sir, call 911, because it's really important that you feel the personal responsibility. So my long answer, anything is better than nothing. Call 911. Don't be afraid to administer naloxone. Naloxone does not have any negative effects. So worst case scenario, you have a drunk person that got a little, medication up their nose, but could have saved their life if they were having an OD.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I didn't know that about naloxone. Okay, okay, again, we're not doctors, but you should just, if you are suspecting it, you should just go ahead and start this process, and it's not gonna, okay. And like you said, there's the Good Samaritan law as well. So That's good to know too, because I think there's a lot of reasons why people are hesitant. There's the bystander effect, but then also people like they might not know how to react, or they're like, oh, I'm not, I'm not CPR certified, or I'm not a paramedic. Or if they're under the influence of something themselves, they might be worried that they're going to get in trouble, especially in the US where there are strict drug laws in a lot of places, especially compared to here in Europe. The approach is really different. I feel like here, what I've seen living here for 6 years is there's more of a harm reduction approach. You see a lot of times at events, there are stands where people can go and test their substances. It's a lot more education. It's a lot more about rehabilitation rather than retribution, that from what I've, and like I said, I haven't researched this, just from my observations as an event organizer, as an MC, all the hats that I wear.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. A lot of, overdoses do happen because you're right, people are not equipped with the information to do it or don't know that they are protected by a law. It's true. So that's definitely something that our organization capitalizes on. We want people to know there is a Good Samaritan law or a variation of it in all 50 states. There is no life-threatening effects of naloxone. Please administer it. Like the worst thing you can do is nothing. And so many ODs could have been, reversed, and lives could have been saved if, we had told people this. So now we're here and our mission is to do it, and no one else has to die.
That's amazing. And yeah, I think there's so much people can take away from this conversation. So that's great. Talking a bit about harm reduction, what role does it play in the organization? And can you define it for everyone? Because I think, yeah, this is something that should be clearly defined.
Yes, I completely agree. And harm reduction, it depends on who you ask, right? And like you said, in Europe, in the Netherlands, I think harm reduction is kind of a lot more mainstream, and it is up and coming here. I think the reason that we've been so successful and a lot of the work that we have done is because it is becoming more accepted. But at End Overdose, we define harm reduction as kind of the fundamental principle of reducing the risk and consequences associated with drug use. The basic principle of this is reducing the negative consequences of behaviors, but not trying to eliminate the behavior in itself. We're trying to eliminate the consequences. This is practical, it's feasible, and it's, more reasonable to save people's lives and reduce negative outcomes. This approach also really emphasizes this evidence-based kind of strategy to improve public health. And also, it really harpers on prevention, education, and not trying to sway people one way or another. We are, as an organization, we're not telling people to stop doing drugs. We're not telling people it's okay to do drugs. Not at all. We are really just helping people reduce risk with our education, information, and resources.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I think, yeah, like what I've said before, like I've seen that working better than just telling people don't do this or go ahead and do this. It should be an accepting that this exists at events. What can we do to keep people safe? And how can we educate people so that they do make the right choices? Or if they're around someone or one of their friends, something bad happens, like you said, they know how to react. And yeah, I think that's really important, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. We, like, as an organization, we recognize that people have the right to their own choices. And, it is the role of us as a nonprofit and society to help them just make safe decisions. So that's really what it's all about.
Definitely. So like I said, I saw you guys at EDC Orlando, and I'm hoping to see you guys at more events when I'm back in the US. I'm back and forth. But so why is it important for you guys to be at these events, and what kind of success have you had? Do you have any stories of like people have come up to you that have said, oh, this worked, or oh, I learned this today, or anything? I'm sure you have a million, but maybe pick a couple that you can share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so cool. It's like the coolest thing ever to have like not grown up, but I guess like in my young adulthood have gone to these insomniac events, experienced or at least secondhand people, using drugs unsafely and the negative consequences. And now I get to do some super impactful work and see the organization that I work for at these events that I used to attend just for fun. And now I get to work at them. It's so cool. But essentially, yeah, it's so important for us to be present at these events. Number one, for the destigmatization aspect, just us being there in the community shows people that, hey, we are trying to make things more safe. There are actions you can take if you so choose to be safer with your personal choices. Come on, it takes 5 minutes. Come on over, learn how to reverse an OD. If not for you, then for someone random in the crowd or maybe your friend. And then we give out free naloxone at these events, which um, I just want to thank like Insomniac and Pasquale Rote especially for letting us take up space and be part of this amazing community, because now that we've been at these events, we just came back from Skyline and Wasteland, we are gearing up to be at Beyond Wonderland. So if you're at Beyond Wonderland, come and visit our booth. We're so excited to train people. But really just it's been so amazing for these organizations to give us a platform to spread this essential information. And yeah, like a success story is we've gotten so many DMs on Instagram. People are like, oh my God, like because of the naloxone I picked up at like 2 p.m. and earlier in the day, I saved someone's life at 9 p.m. We get these DMs
Wow.
all the time. I've had people personally text me and say, Darcy, like that Narcan you gave me the other day, like I literally just revived someone with it and got them to a hospital in time. And it's just so rewarding. The main thing I want people to know is that 40% of overdose deaths could have been prevented if someone around them knew how and when to intervene. And that is our purpose and that is our mission.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for you guys to be at the event itself, so people can just go and take the training, because everyone's like, "Oh, I'm busy. I'll do the training later online," or maybe they're not going to go out during a day of a week to go do it. But if it's there, it's convenient. You guys are there right in the middle of the event, and yeah, it's like what better place for people to get educated, and yeah, like you said, they could use that information and those tools that day. Hopefully they don't have to, but if they have to, then it's there. We hope they don't have to.
Exactly. We really do. We really hope they don't have to, but we're equipping them with the resources and information if they have to.
Definitely. So I'm 32 years old, so I've been raving for a long time. I grew up in the 90s, and I remember growing up these programs like Dare and like Just Say No and things like that. I remember in school, like there's a scruffy McGruff dog that would tell us like drugs are bad, etc. And we've seen in the past a pushback from music venues that want to promote harm reduction, but can't because of the Rave Act of 2003. Is this still an issue that exists today, 20 years later? Or in your opinion, do you think it's easier now for club promoters and event organizers to promote harm reduction at events rather than, what I experienced growing up, which is just say no,
Yeah, absolutely. And we are still seeing a lot of challenges in this space, but there's been so much headway, honestly, thanks to a lot of organizations that are willing to take that first step, even though it's scary because the Rave Act has caused a lot of fear in this space, especially for promoters who really do want to make this change towards harm reduction, but feel like it could make them liable. But thank you to, event spaces like Insomniac or clothing brands, Rave Wonderland, I Heart Raves that are willing to work with us, even down to the local like underground grassroots orgs like Relentless Nights or Blind Tiger. These are all, obviously pretty local to LA orgs, but due to these people willing to take that first step and destigmatize the conversation and know that this is life-saving information and resources, we have made some headway in being able to have these events. And it depends, again, in my opinion, is it easier? Maybe because that's the way the society is going, but really the first step is just supporting us. If that's doing an event and allowing us to have a booth and we give out some fentanyl test strips, or maybe if it's just stickers, giving out stickers and just putting the name out there, letting people know that you can order free fentanyl test strips, free naloxone on our website. That is a huge step in the right direction. So by supporting us even in just the awareness aspect, it's really helping the problem. And each and every event company, like again, Insomniac, all those people, that is just the first step. And it's been really amazing seeing the progress.
Nice. So what's one thing event organizers can do this weekend to promote safety at their events?
Yeah.
Or maybe more than one thing is fine too. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things to promote safety again, like it, just there are so many things, but having having people know that we are here to have the resources that they need. If an event organizer isn't ready to personally have like End Overdose branding or have us at their event, that's completely fine. But having people know that there are resources available by, I mean, make like even announcing like, hey, like you're welcome to carry naloxone here, or equipping their staff with naloxone. They could have, I always love recommending that bars, restaurants, clubs, whatever, take our training and then order some naloxone just for their staff to have. And this is a great opportunity for me to just say, like, we love doing staff trainings. The more trainings that we can do, we just go to a bar, restaurant, train everyone on the staff. That's 10 to 20 more people who are now equipped to know how to use naloxone and reverse an OD. So even just having some of your staff have it on them, or mandating that your staff take the training, that's a great first step.
Yeah, I think that's great. I actually worked at a nightclub here in the Netherlands for about 5 years up until recently, and we had definitely trainings on drug safety, trainings on sexual harassment, and like once a year, like local groups would come to the club and train everybody. You sit down for a couple hours and do these trainings, and drug safety training I have not had to implement, thankfully, like I said, but to have that information was really important, and to sit everybody down as a team, and then also just opens up the conversation again, because people aren't hesitant about asking about it. People aren't, especially when you work in a nightclub, because it's not just the attendees but also the staff. Like there are staff that sometimes uses drugs and alcohol while at work in that kind of environment, so it's really good to have people who are trained across the board.
Completely, yeah. Even if I always get the question of people coming up and they're like, well, I don't use drugs or I don't use opioids. Why should I like take the time out of my day to learn about this? Well, first off, fentanyl is often used to lace these drugs, even if you are a cocaine user, an MDMA user, ketamine, even, all of this can be in your drugs, even though, it's not branded as an opioid or sold to you as an opioid. So it's important to know. Or if, one of your friends uses, or even someone on the street, everyone should be equipped to, know how to use it.
Yeah, and I think in the electronic music community, we're all about plur, and people who don't know, peace, love, unity, respect. I have a lot of international listeners, so I always try to, plur is a very
Yeah.
an American concept, so I always try to define it. We're
Yeah.
all about community. We're all about looking out for each other. And this is one way to look out. So even if you yourself don't ever plan on using drugs, or you don't know anybody who's drugs, you don't know, in a crowd of 50,000 people, obviously there's going to be people in the crowd of 50,000 people who one person is using drugs, so it's just, it's looking out for your fellow raver. It's looking out for your rave fam. It's looking out for your friends, and just, yeah. And you never know, could be on the street, could be at a restaurant. It doesn't obviously necessarily need to be at an electronic music event, but it's just good to have that information. And even if it's not for yourself or for your friends, just for people around you.
Exactly.
So have you guys received any pushback from your presence at events? Do you ever have anybody that doesn't want you there? So I've seen a little bit of pushback just at raves, particularly from some religious communities, like, at EDC Orlando, for example. I think at EDC New York too, there's a lot of people with picket signs, like, saying that you're going to go to hell and God saves, and these kind of things. Do you guys ever experience any pushback, either from, protesters, or just from people who approach your stand that don't agree with what you guys are doing?
Of course. I mean, there will always be people that, even though it shouldn't be, it is still a contentious issue, because people will not truly understand that harm reduction works and it's evidence-based. And a lot of people, we do get people who are like, what do you mean fentanyl? Yeah, fentanyl test strips, isn't that just promoting drug use? Well, no, like we are not an anti-drug organization. Like we don't moralize drug use. That is not that is not what we're here for. We are just a community focused on making resources available to people that need them. Like we are here to reduce risk, you know. And another goal of ours is to remove stigma, just by talking about it, giving people the resources, giving people a platform to understand that it is their choice and they have the right to make choices safely. And we want to help people use, you know, safely, just to, you know, promote this education and um, make sure that the resources, these are resources that save lives. Like no one else should have to die for making personal decisions. So yes, we experience a lot of pushback, but um, luckily we have a lot of supporters. And again, anyone that supports us, anyone that chooses to donate or chooses to post about us and tag us, that's just more people that even are aware that our organization exists, and they can go to our website, get that training, because it's a personal choice. We are not forcing this idea on anyone. If you want to come to our website, take the training and get resources that are potentially life-saving, please do it. So any organization that supports us, like Insomniac, again, you know, it's just they're really what are saving, they're people saving lives, really.
And I think now, with the opioid crisis in the US, I think people are really going to start to see the importance of this even more. Like, I think, like I said, I think almost all of us know somebody or know somebody who knows somebody who's been affected by this in one way or another. And I think hopefully people will see the need for this more and won't see it as a way of promoting drug use. They'll see it as, no, this is important. End Overdose needs to be at events. People need to get trained and people need to educate themselves and educate others. So yeah, like you said, so no one else has to die,
Totally agree.
So other than your presence at events and conversations like this, what can we do to end the stigma around drug use and drug addiction?
Yeah, really, at End Overdose, we think that just having these resources in common places is the best, you know, way to do it. Kind of an analogy that um we like to use is, it's kind of funny, is kind of like safe sex. It's very analogous in that you can, you know, you don't have to constantly be talking about safe sex to promote this idea. Like, yes, talking about it helps and giving us a platform to discuss it helps, but putting condoms, you know, making condoms available is going to promote safe sex. So we, by making these resources available everywhere, small, like restaurants, again, like having free fentanyl test strips in the club maybe that you own, or you know, having being come to our website, you can order it. That is going to really destigmatize this whole issue. And again, you know, we also have the information, it's the education that is really important. We have like these posters that we've just created, and they're really meant to be put up in a bar, in a club bathroom. And these posters have the like opioid triad, what to do, how to get naloxone with a little like QR code. So just having these resources and having the information everywhere in common areas, it will become more accepted, and it'll be a lot easier for people to kind of accept that harm reduction is going to save people's lives.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that, like I said, looking at the messaging from the 90s compared to now, early 2000s compared to now, or even when I first started raving to where I am now, looking at the US, not in Europe, of course, different. I do see like people are more open about it. I do see organizations like you guys at events and others as well. Is there anything else we can do to promote this messaging, or is it's just mostly just, yeah, like you said, making it accessible, making it readily available? How can we take that, I guess, from clubs and restaurants to like a higher level? Because for change, you also need to, yeah, get the, the government, or how can we make it really get out to everybody?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the grassroots level is essential, again, like making these resources available. But, you know, institutional change takes a lot of time, and we have been seeing it. But just things, I mean, I keep saying it, but like us being this organization, being given a platform by Insomniac, we are at these events in person in the community, giving out resources, talking to people. It's really one, like the more people that allow us into their communities. Again, we're talking about the electronic dance music scene because of course, you know, that's kind of been a revolutionary scene for harm reduction, and obviously drug use is prevalent, but in all areas of music, we could start. It's really like placing yourself in more and more areas to see the change happen, if that makes sense. And with government, that's really hard, but I think research really helps. Again, harm reduction is evidence-based. I know that there's been a lot of revolutionary research on like HIV, things like harm reduction applying to HIV has a lot of like evidence-based strategies that it works, and that people are getting like less diseases by, I know that this is more of like a European thing. In the US, it's not commonplace at all, but safe injection sites or safe disposal sites. So I think the government really needs to see like research and needs to see numbers, but from a grassroots perspective, and what we all can do as a society is just talk about it and allow these resources in your space and create more events, create more community engagement around safe drug use and just learning how to reduce OD.
Definitely. So you talked about so many amazing things, but if you could sum everything up into what's one thing that you wish you knew before you started working for End Overdose that you know now?
Yeah, that there's so many things, but I really think it would be, uh, wish I knew. I honestly think I would wish I knew how much, this is going to sound silly, how much I absolutely adore and love this space. As I said in college, I want to be a doctor, and that might be the path that I'm on, but I didn't realize how inspired I would be just by working with like local communities and underground collectives and musicians from the from club promoters, everyone. Everyone is so inspiring, and each and every person that decides to take that first step in, you know, tagging us or posting a picture, and or taking that 20-minute training and carrying naloxone in their purse, even if they don't use, that's what is so inspiring to me. And just the the small changes that people are making in their lives to hopefully reverse an OD, that is what has inspired me. I just love this job, and I love that I'm able to see the change happen, get those DMs on Instagram like, I saved someone's life because of what you gave us. Like that's so cool. That was a long answer, but
No, that was great. And I could just tell, I mean, from this whole conversation, like you're so passionate about this and about what you do. And End Overdose is an amazing organization. I think everybody can see that. And like you guys are making a difference. Like you said, if every weekend you're getting texts and DMs or people that come up to you or talking
yeah,
on podcasts or just, getting invited to places. So hopefully it just continues to grow and grow, and you guys can just keep expanding and making a difference.
exactly. Yeah, it's just every person has the opportunity to make a difference.
Definitely. So, in addition to your work with End Overdose, well, you do a lot of different things, but you also manage and design clinical trials for Quit Genius. Can you tell me a little bit more about your work there? How did you get involved with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like everything roots back to my time at UCLA. I had the amazing opportunity to connect with um, a principal investigator over there that did research with opioid use disorder and treating it with a digital therapeutic intervention, which was essentially a cognitive behavioral therapy hybrid, along with Suboxone, which is a medication. It is an opioid medication used to manage withdrawal symptoms for people with opioid use disorder. So I started working in research there, and that was where I really gained my passion for this community, I guess, and all of the things that we can do to really help people who either are on the spectrum of people that have substance use disorders or people that just recreationally use. No one, in my opinion, deserves to die from their personal choice to use. So that's how I kind of got into this space, and I started doing research at UCLA for that lab. And eventually I got brought into the not academic side of opioid use disorder research, but the industry side at Quit Genius. And I have the privilege of being able to work on a couple different trials. Right now, we're working on a randomized control trial for for alcohol cessation. But I also just got published in my first paper on alcohol cessation, which is so cool. So I got to really like see my hard work kind of materialize, I guess. And just talking to people every day, even just it's data collection, but it's really checking in. How are you doing today? How are you feeling, on your medication? Is there anything I can relay to your doctor? And the main thing that I want to talk about is like every single person deserves some sort of like hopefulness. Everyone deserves this, like, how can I say this in a way that makes more sense? Um, Everyone that's like going through something, a substance use disorder, or maybe they just lost a friend to a fentanyl overdose, everyone needs support, compassion, and hope in this, area. And a lot of people that are struggling with substance use just need a lot of compassion and support. So that's kind of what I get to do in my job.
I love that. We talk a lot about mental health on this podcast. Every single episode, basically, we talk about mental health. It's something that's really important to me and really important to drop bass, not bombs. And yeah, I think that's great. Like you said, everyone deserves a chance. Everybody deserves, to have a wonderful life. And it's just like we talked about before, it's just so stigmatized. And a lot of people who are suffering from addiction don't get the support that they need. They're ostracized or they're denied help, or their family or friends give up on them. And it's great what you're doing. So do you have any success stories that you could share, anything that you can share that you've seen through the trials?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, so I mentioned that we just kicked off so I work it's with both opioid, it's finding, basically it's helping people who have issues with alcohol, nicotine, and opioids. But the main success is that I've really been able to see from a treatment perspective how important cost effectiveness and accessibility of treatment is to people. A lot of treatment centers are really not cost effective, and these people that already are struggling with substance use have to pay huge amounts of money to try to get a prescription or try to go see a counselor. And I have had the amazing privilege to be able to work with people and deliver treatment right through their computers. So I'm really seeing, I believe the future of substance use management and treatment is digital therapeutics, and really that's just what I've seen. People deserve compassion, accessibility of treatment, and cost effectiveness, and that is what is really going to help people in the long run.
So how does it work digitally? I'm not not a doctor, scientist, or in clinical again. So is it over Zoom? Or like how do you do that digitally?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously depends on the therapeutic, but the one that I work out, we meet with people on Zoom. It's actually through an app, so it depends. The research trial is a little bit different, but the actual treatment that we do, it's a B2B treatment, which means business to business, is through an app. So it's basically just an app that you easily download and meet with people on the video. It's HIPAA compliant, and yeah, so it's really cool. And then you can just send the prescription to their pharmacy. It obviously depends on the state laws, and that's been another thing I've realized. Depending on where you live in the US, it might be really easy to get treatment, it might be really, really difficult to get treatment. So that's another thing I see in my future, is just working on ease of access for everybody. That's what's really inspiring to me. But yeah, just being able to meet people where they're at, and End Overdose has the same mentality. Like, we are meeting people where they're at. We're not judging people at all, and we just want to help people with the resources we're able to give if they so choose. Yeah.
So how do you go about finding people for the trials? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so yeah, without going into too much detail, it's basically we recruit people from like a third party site. In the past, when we've done kind of smaller pilots, we would recruit from social media. I mean, we're recruiting from social media now, but when we used to do these really smaller pilots, we would go on community resources like even Reddit and just advertise, for this new trial. So, yeah, recruiting through a lot of social media, typically not because we're virtual, we recruit virtually. Um, we typically wouldn't go to like sober living or anything like that. But yeah, it's been a really cool experience to learn about this type of treatment. And I again really do think it is the future just because of the accessibility aspect of it.
Awesome. Yeah, we're seeing that more and more with everything. I think since the pandemic, like everything being digital and online, and you can just reach so much more people that way. Then, yeah. And also, I think people might feel more comfortable too. I had a therapist on the podcast last season, and she was saying too that, it's easier, sometimes easier for people just to log on their phone or log online than having to drive or take the train, tram, metro, wherever you are to get to your therapist's office, to sit in the waiting room, to wait. And like, people
Mhm.
are busy. What if you have kids? What if you have, a lot going on? If you can just access it from your phone or from a computer or from, or just somehow digitally, it's just way easier.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of people I know that have had trouble with their substance use have, tried methadone clinics, and oftentimes it's standard practice that you have to like go drive, however far to the methadone clinic at 6 a.m. every day, get your one dose, and then drive home. These are people that have jobs or like mandated group therapy and, normal working hours. And I've heard a lot of people struggling with that. So again, yeah, it's just really ease of access is really going to help people, and kind of like I really think any organization that is just helping people get the treatment they need easily is going to be more successful. Just like End Overdose, we have like an online training and we'll ship naloxone, right to you, your fentanyl test strips right to you. So I really see that as one of the best ways to help people that need it.
Definitely. So we're coming toward the end now, but what are some safety tips that listeners can use while out raving this weekend or even out tonight?
Yeah, exactly. Out tonight, like applies to everyone. I would just say something I do is just carry that naloxone and know how to use it. That's so important. Again, like doing nothing and not carrying it is like the worst thing you can do. Even if you're not the one that administers it, at least if something happens, you're like, hey, I have it, and you can help there. Um, yeah, that would be the main thing in my mind. And just take that training, take the time out of your day. It takes 20 minutes and learn, and you might save someone's life.
Awesome. So this is the question they ask all my guests. How do you rave for a cause or party for a purpose in your life?
Yeah, I love that question. I again like am just so passionate about this subject, and I'm so lucky that it's actually just so crazy how my academic life and my career and my social life have all just combined so perfectly. But I really think this cause is so important. And again, there are people dying every day right now because they don't have the resources necessary or the information necessary to save them. So I really am just so passionate and lucky to be here and have people that work with us and are willing to let End Overdose into their space to garner more community engagement. And also, this is just such an amazing community. I just want to like also thank the electronic dance music community for being like pioneers in this space and being the first like kind of community to allow the harm reduction to save so many lives. So I guess that's my answer.
Yeah, the electronic music community, I've said this on almost every episode of the podcast, is my favorite community. It's the best community. It is so open and welcoming to everybody. And of course, there are bad apples in every community. There are bad things that happen. And I'm not saying, that hasn't happened to me or that hasn't happened to other people. But overall, I have found that this community has pioneered in a lot of ways when it comes to technology, when it comes to sustainability, and of course, when it comes to harm reduction as well. And I think we can look at festivals as like mini ecosystems, and hopefully from there it can grow to the greater community into the world.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So where can people connect with you and Overdose online?
Yes, definitely DMing us on Instagram. Our Instagram is end.overdose. Our website is also a great place to connect. You can our website is endoverdose.net. And if you're interested in volunteering, like I really encourage, if you live in LA, come and volunteer for us. We have a volunteer application on our link tree in our Instagram bio. I'm always looking for dedicated and passionate individuals to come help out at events, help pack kits. Just dedicating like a couple hours a week makes such a huge impact. You can also email us at events@endoverdose.net if you're interested in throwing a collaborative event with us. But yeah, you can just DM us on Instagram. That's the best way.
Awesome. So if you guys are listening and you're in LA, you want to go to some events, you want to help out, yeah, send her a message. And then, yeah, people can find you on Instagram or on your website. That's amazing. Thank you so much for today, Darcy. This was a great conversation. And like I said, you just seem so passionate about this. And I think it's really cool that you found a way to make all of this into your career and into your life. And you found a way to tie in your academic passions with your studies and with everything. And I didn't have that experience. I studied like international law and politics, and then now my trajectory has been a bit different. So I think it's really cool that you've managed to, at a young age, kind of tie everything together and found out what you want to do and have dedicated your life to it.
Yeah, thank you. It has been, I mean, I guess I've made it seem like it hasn't been like a crazy journey, but yeah, it is really, it's just, I would just say like follow your passions, and you've done it with your podcast, and I've done it too. And just wherever you find your passion, just go follow it, because that'll really make you inspired to do your work every day.
Definitely. And yeah, I definitely feel that way now for sure. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for
absolutely.
today. And I hope to see you at an event very soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Come and visit the End Overdose booth.
I will. Yeah, I'll be at EDC Orlando this year. So if you guys are there again, I meant to say hi a bunch of times. They're just so busy. So this time, if you guys are there, I will come say hi.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye. That was my episode with Darcy from End Overdose. And this was obviously a really serious topic. And it was difficult to talk about. And I know I kind of skipped over the part about like my personal attachment to this issue. And of course, that's out of respect to my family and the privacy for them. But this is something that I've been seriously impacted by. And I did lose a family member to the opioid epidemic. And I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people can say the same. And I know that all of us have been affected by this in some way or another. It's affected us all. Addiction has no boundaries. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about your race or where you're from or your socioeconomic status. And it's a really big problem. And it's something that is really serious globally, and especially in the electronic music community. And we can't ignore it. So I know this is the first time that we've really talked about substance use on the podcast. We've talked about it a little bit here and there, but this is the first time we've really gotten serious about it. And it won't be the last discussion. It's just, I wanted to have Darcy as the first one, kind of to set the tone, make it very educational, and we'll continue to discuss it because it's really important. But yeah, again, guys, I'm going to link to some resources in the show notes, in the description. Definitely check out End Overdose, check out Darcy's stuff, reach out to them. If you guys see them at a festival, definitely go and get trained, say hi. I'm definitely going to see them. Yeah, I think hopefully they'll be at EDC Orlando again, and I'll definitely make my way over and do some of their trainings. I think that's really important. So, okay, now on a lighter note, it's time for some announcements. So a couple of weeks ago, I was at Rebirth Festival here in the Netherlands, and I was with Dutch Raw Style DJ Chain Reaction. I did a special article about him and about his set and about his career with a special interview. So you can head on over to hardstylemag.com, check that out. I have a lot of content coming soon. Just keep checking it out. And as you guys know, I also work for EDM House Network now. So I'm covering a lot of events with them, writing a lot of articles, doing a lot of stuff, guys. So definitely go on over, check them out. Give Hardstyle Mag a follow. Give EDM House Network a follow. Tell them I sent you. Tell them I said hi. So next announcement is I've recently partnered with another rave fashion festival clothing brand called Shroom Beach. Shroom Beach has fun and comfortable psychedelic clothing and beachwear. Every year they donate 10% of their profits to the Psychedelic Institute. So I have a code for you guys. That's MC Unicorn 20. You can save some money, get those festival fits. So I wore one of their outfits at Ultra and it was so comfortable. I can't wait to wear more this summer. It was really cute too and like reflective and trippy. I love that. So my last announcement for today is I have a code for you guys for Drop Zone Festival. So you guys already know I'm official ambassador for Drop Zone Festival. I went there last year. Drop Zone Festival is the ultimate hardstyle holiday. It's in Pag Island in Croatia. So I'm going to read you my code here, guys, because it's not my usual code. It's DZDUCQ. That's D as in dog, Z as in zebra, D as in dog, U as in umbrella, C as in cat, and Q as in queen. So that's DZDUCQ. Go on over to dropzonefest.com. You can use that code to save some money on your accommodations. And let's party in Croatia this summer. So that's all for today. If you guys like the podcast, leave a thumbs up, share it with a friend, leave a positive review, send to your friends, family, share it on your stories. Please check us out now on TikTok at Drop Bass Not Bombs NL. Also, same thing on Instagram. Check us out on Patreon at Ravers Revelations, and we will see you on Friday, May 19th. Bye.